What's going on, y'all? I'm here to talk about Slitherwing and the really cool buffs and changes I've made to them in my ROM hack. If you have questions, which I'm sure you do, especially if you're a new viewer, don't worry, I'll get to them, I promise. I would recommend, though, if you are brand new to my channel, first of all, shout out to you. I appreciate you clicking on this. Don't click off, it'll mess up my watch time, and I think you'll enjoy, all the really cool thought and effort that goes into this hack. This music is way too quiet. Let me just put that up real quick. But yeah, hopefully it's better. Slitherwing, really cool buffs and changes. If you're new here, I would recommend pausing the video and giving the description a little read. It has bullet points. It'll help you understand the overall balancing of this hack better and the way things are approached. So Slitherwing is now an optional evolution. Basically, you can pick between Volcarona, Slitherwing, or Iron Moth now. So if you're curious about how Larvesta works for the first 40 levels of the game, the first half of the game almost, and then also just Volcarona and how they play, number one, you can pause the video and just look at it, but also you can click the video, excuse me, you can click my channel when you're done with this video and check out Volcarona's video. Don't click it now though, because again, that'll mess up the watch time. Just check it out after, and you can check out Iron Moth's video as well to compare all three. Of course, whichever one you pick is going to be based on your preference first and foremost. It's whatever one you like more, right? That's the whole point of the game, is you're supposed to be able to use whatever Pokemon you want. Second is, matchup, right? Depending on what type of run you're doing, your other Pokemon on your team, whatever, that'll also heavily influence which one you pick. And then, of course, your play style, which one you prefer to use, not just in terms of design, but just like in terms of the changes that they have. If you prefer one or the other, then you use that one. In Slitherwing's case, I've given them some really cool new abilities. So first and foremost, I want to explain why photosynthesis is gone. And then I'll explain why they're not Bug Dragon, because I know there's going to be at least a couple people watching this thinking, oh, I wish they were Bug Dragon. And then I'll talk about everything else, the more important, relevant stuff. Ability change. So essentially, Slitherwing, all of the Donphan paradoxes and all of the Volcarona paradoxes are no longer Corp Drive photosynthesis. Reason being, I think the abilities are kind of redundant with the other two abilities I've chosen to give them. For example, with Photosynthesis Slitherwing, the only boost you're getting is attack and maybe special defense, and if you want attack, you're using Brute Force. And you could argue, okay, then give them Photosynthesis and then give them Quick Feet or something, which is a fair. I actually considered that for a while, but I was already sold on giving the Donphan ones the Rush abilities, Solar Rush and Volt Rush, over the Paradox abilities, because it's still like a thematic, a fitting ability, right? But I ended up really liking Volt Rush on Iron Moth, and I figured, I don't know, like, the Photosynthesis Quirk are just so limiting on them, it's kind of boring. I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of them. I like it on the other ones, especially specific ones I think it's really cool on, but and these guys, I feel like you're only, like, on Moth, yeah, you could boost Spadef too, but I don't know, man. I much prefer the abilities I chose and the way that they interact with one another, because in this hack I balanced all the abilities to be like worth using over each other, depending on the situation, depending on the boss fight, depending on the plan that you're making, right, to beat that boss. So all three have use. In this case, you've got Fluffy for for your bulk. You've got Brute Force for the raw damage output if you need extra damage, and then you've got Solar Rush for that extra speed. Of course, you can still use Scarf Brute Force. Base 85 speed with that guaranteed base 20 IV you get from all the eggs. Hits 387, which is really, really good. You're outspeeding base 127? No, 126, which is very, very good. Obviously, it's kind of sad. All of the brute force mons are just going to be like, I mean, not all the time. Like, there are certain boss fights where you might want to run like brute force, banded, first impression, and just fucking blow something up and then switch out, whatever. And of course, there are tons of utility items you can take advantage of brute force, but I mean, there's the inherent synergy that a brute force has with band and scarf just because of the nature of the ability. So it's a bit one note there, and it kind of does also overshadow Solar Rush a bit. I was considering making them even slower, but I felt kind of forced, and like I don't know, it's like kind of losing the plot at that point, So I kept it as is. Again, for things that are faster, you might want Solar Rush. Not to mention, the best thing about Solar Rush is that you can switch your moves, and you can run bulk investment. So you're very, very, very tanky. I gave them the highest HP out of all three of the Moth forms, the Volcarona forms, because if you look at the size comparisons, Iron Moth is smaller than Volcarona, and then Slitherwing is significantly bigger. It's super long because it's got the tail. So, yeah, Solar Rush really, really cool. I just think it's really cool. I think it's cool. I like getting that double speed. I think it's a lot more of a fun ability to pair with Fluffy and Brute Force. So that's why I chose that. And then Iron Moth, the same thing. I'll explain when I get to their video. Yeah, super fat though. I mean, dude, even without Fluffy, this thing is fat. 115, 85, 105 is fat. And then with that Fluffy, when you switch to that when you need it, I mean, you're swallowing physical hits. It's really cool. So very fun defensively. It's got great utility moves. It's got pivot moves. Body press doesn't work with Fluffy, but you've got lunge, which drops attack guaranteed and special attack. You've got Will-O-Wisp. You've got U-turn. You've got Leech Life, which is awesome with brute force and Fluffy, and even Solar Rush. Leech Life essentially is 60 base power, but it heals you by 100% of damage. So that's incredible. Incredible healing that you get from Leech Life now. I did give them some dragon moves for flavor, so I'll quickly address the dragon typing because I get it if you want. I think dragon slithering is cool. I think in the real games they could have done it. However, in the context of this ROM hack, number one, it's kind of a nerf if I'm being real. Obviously, like, it's just worse. It's making the dual stab combo worse, significantly worse, because Bug Dragon just hits less things. Not that it's terrible. I mean, there are actually 4 Bug Dragons if you count Dipplin and Hydrapple as separate, which you kind of should in my opinion, because they function differently. You've got Dipplin, Hydrapple, and then Yanmega and Flygon. Although Flygon I might end up changing the Bug around. We'll see. We'll see when I get there. Right now it's planned to be Bug Dragon, with the Vibrava being way cooler. Bug Ground Goat. I love Vibrava. But anyway, yeah, so there's a good amount of Bug Dragons already. There's actually more Bug Dragons than there are Bug Fighting types in this hack because of Yanmega and Flygon. There's a 4 or 3 to 4 if you count the Hydrapple line, and then Bug Fighting is Spidops and Heracross, and that's it. So it's even. It's 3 to 3 right now. If you count Hydrapple as separate, then it's 4 to 3. So regardless, there's more Bug Dragons on paper, and then of course Bug Fighting is a much better offensive combo, and both of them fit Slitherwing. Fighting and Dragon both fit them. I mean, Fighting fits a little bit better if I'm being real. I mean, that's kind of the whole point, is that they're like a more combative, physically offensive, type of guy. Same reason like Great Tusk is, Fighting type. Nobody ever says Fighting Dragon, Ground Dragon, fucking, what's his goddamn name? Great Tusk. Nobody ever says that, so I don't know. I do see Dragon. That's why I gave them the Dragon moves. I think if you pulled Terra Dragon, that'd be super fucking cool with like Dragon Rush and shit. They do get Dragon Dance, which you get as a TM earlier than Victory Dance, so Dragon Dance TM is roughly in the mid-50s, depending on the path of the boss fights that you're playing on. There are 5 different versions. So 7 badges, it's 53 to 58, so you're getting it earlier than 65, which is Victory Dance. Very fitting. I don't know why they didn't give Victory Dance in vanilla. It totally should have gotten it, just flavor-wise. I might end up putting a soft ban on setup moves, though. I mean, it's kind of broken, especially with like Finishing Blow and Fluffy letting you be so tanky to take hits and get off that Victory Dance very easily. And Finishing Blow giving you plus 3 attack when you kill something as well. I mean, it gets pretty out of hand. You do have non-stab priority and Pyro Dash, and then of course you've got your good old, First Impression. This is one of like the OG First Impression mons in vanilla, Of course, First Impression is a very widespread TM, but what isn't widespread is having stab and a boosting ability on First Impression. That is a unique trait. There are a good amount of bug types, who will have First Impression plus, like in this case, Brute Force, or maybe Hustle, or maybe Ruthless, or maybe Technician, all of which boost First Impression to massive levels. So that is what's unique about First Impression. Having it is not unique anymore, but having it and being able to one-shot shit easily with it is very unique. So, most things like neutral targets, for example, will die to Brute Force First Impression for sure. Of course, you have to switch out after because it's, Guerrilla Tactics, it's choice band, right? So you're forced into that First Impression. You have to switch out. But I mean, otherwise it's super fun. I would love to just switch around and just pivot a bunch and keep spamming that like banded Brute Force First Impression. That's super fucking dope. I love that move. It's my favorite move in the game. So, yeah. Other cool shit. I mean, you got good utility, of course. I mean, again, that Fluffy is great. You've also got stuff like Whirlwind, which is, a 1 PP priority little pivot. Not pivot. I guess you could call it phasing, although it's not used for the same. I mean, you could use it to phase, if something's boosting. AI is boosting. You can teach it with Relearner. Say, for example, you're prepping for a boss and they have, a random setup mon. You can tack this on if you have the move pool room, which usually you will because if you have Move Relearner. Especially, you could technically also still abuse Slitherwing. That's why I gave them, Ancient Forest, Bug Bomber, Quiver Dance on Evolution at level 40. I mean, level 40 for Quiver Dance is fucking early, dude. Not to mention, you could also use Quiver Dance with Fluffy and just run a physical sweeping set with Quiver Dance and just get the speed and Spadef boost. So that's pretty good. It's kind of like it's like a, it's cool. It's like a speed and special attack move, speed and special defense move, excuse me. And then Fluffy covers up your Fizdef so you can tank hits and be like a bulky, fast sweeper. Pretty cool. And yes, they do have some special moves. Some weirder moves here are from evolving from Larvesta. So, I mean, Flamethrower, I guess you can argue, is kind of weird, although they get fire moves normally, so it's not that weird. Yeah, Morning Sun, great defensively, of course, with that Fluffy, or that Solar Rush even. I don't know, man. There's not too much else to talk about. It's a very straight, I mean, fucking superpower, dude. Superpower brute force. You know, if you need that extra oomph. Of course, Fluffy superpower and Solar Rush superpower are also incredibly powerful. But you know, brute force superpower. You could even run like eject pack. You know, that's fucking dope. It turns it into like an app. Like you just blow something up with 140 base power superpower, and then you are forced out because of your eject pack. You know, dropping your attack because superpower is now physical Draco Meteor essentially on the fighting type side. So that's really cool. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I mean, you got Bug Biting to break sashes. That's a multi-hit move. You've also got Dual Wing Beat. You know, any Terra type on this guy would be super fun to abuse. You know, Grass, you have the cool Solar Blade crap. You've got, you know, Flying, you get Dual Wing Beat and stuff. Acrobatics. Tons of cool Terra types. You know, Dragon's obviously very, very cool. It's probably the one I would want the most just because it's fucking cool as hell. Like, then it's like, oh yeah, you get the Dragon and you get the other stuff. So that'd be cool. Of course, it's RNG. That's how the game is balanced. But I mean, you know, Electric, any type, quite literally any Terra type is good and cool. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I cannot overstate how tanky Fluffy 115/85 is. It's incredibly fat. I'll try to compare it a little bit. So it's 85 defense, right? So I mean, you're hitting like astronomical defense, man. Meant to put in 200. There we go. Yeah, it's a little too high still. You've got like, that feels incorrect. Oh yeah, it's because it's the nature. I knew my fucking math was right, dude. Yeah, it's 200, right? Yeah, dude, I know what I'm doing, man. It's trying to gaslight me. All right, 208, yeah. So you've got like over 200 base defense equivalent with Fluffy. Obviously, it only works on contact moves, so you can't, you know, take Rock Slide or Stone Edge as well, but you'll take like I mean, you know, like contact moves, right? Tons of contact moves that you'll take very, very easily. So that's a great defensive tool. And of course, you're still strong. You're not losing any of your, you know, you still have a 135 attack. So that's great. Brute Force is more of a situational, like if you need that extra damage, or if you want to like Scarf Brute Force with like a spammable move, you know, Bug Biting even can be good. You know, if you want to like get a kill on a Sashmon and then kill the next Mon that comes in, whatever. It depends what you're locking into. Of course, shit late game like CC TM, that goes absolutely crazy with Brute Force plus Scarf. And then of course you've got that banded brute force option to blow shit up extra if you need it, because again on Teamlocked you have a lot of room to experiment with your Pokemon. You might think it's overkill, but maybe you have no better option, you know, in terms of like the way that you're planning out that boss fight. Maybe your best option is to, you know, blow them up with a brute force move with band, if that really is your best choice. Depends. There's tons of cool variables that you can keep in mind. Trailblaze is also very good, you know, boost your speed. Scale Shot, kind of a weird choice, but I don't know, they got the little tail. You do need a loaded dice for Scale Shot to be a guaranteed 60 base power. I did nerf it a good amount. However, it is 100% accurate, so that's good. Just because I really don't like, I mean, I might even end up having to nerf the Trailblaze Ice Spinner type moves too. You know, we'll have to see as time goes on. Because boosting your speed with Move Relearner and attacking at the same time is pretty crazy. Meanwhile, in Sweltering Sun, it's significantly less. I mean, it's really not a big deal at all because you have no Move Relearner, so you're punished for doing stuff like that, you know? Not that it's bad, it's just a lot less riskless. You know, there is a downside to teaching stuff like that. But in this case, there is quite literally zero downside. So we'll have to see as time goes on how that all ends up playing out. But regardless of whether or not setup is allowed or not, I know Slither Wing is still fucking dope. If anything, if setup isn't allowed, it makes Solar Rush even better because then you can just, you know, run a boosting item in the sun and get kills that way. If you're not running Scarf Brute Force stuff, if you want to switch your move, for example, you want to click a bug move, then a fighting move, whatever. It depends on the situation, of course. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Super tanky, relatively quick. Of course, with Scarf and Solar Rush, it's very quick, very, very, very strong. I love Slither Wing, I really do. Sorry for all the people who love Bug Dragon. I mean, it's cool. I mean, I'm not denying that it's cool. It's just not very good for them. It's kind of making them worse for no reason, as cool as it is. And then, of course, the whole thing I explained earlier with the variety of the typing combos, like, there's just already a lot of Bug Dragons, so there's not really as much point to making this Bug Dragon. Of course, in Vanilla, there are none, so then it's like, oh yeah, you know, they should have made this guy Bug Dragon. I can agree with that in Vanilla, but that's not what this is. There are Bug Dragons now. So, yeah, thank you for listening. Let me know if you made it to the end. I guess last thing I cover is, like, even, like, Brute Force Banded Creeping Strike. That's just a Bug-type Shadow Sneak, right? So, that's obviously very good. Although, if you made it to the end of the video, you definitely know that by now. I probably should have said that earlier. There's only so much I can cover. There's a bunch of other things I'm not even mentioning here because I just don't have the time or the... it's just not reasonable for me to try to explain every single little thing and little implication But if you do make it to the end of all these videos, I really do appreciate you. Shout out to you. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll be back for more coming up. Peace.